Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video, and welcome to the brand new 2022 Volkswagen Tiguan. We are going to go through all of the different trim levels, the specs, the size, the styling. It's sort of our first taste, so not a full review, but we're going to drive the front wheel drive and the all-wheel drive. I'm going to walk you through all the pricing, and we're going to dive deep into the Volkswagen Tiguan. Now, new for 2022, Volkswagen has done some significant styling updates to especially the front end, and I'll show you around the back as well. But they've also changed some pricing, some options, given this car more features. But I specifically am starting here with this particular Tiguan because this is the base car. This is the S. Front wheel drive, almost no options, except this one does have the IQ Drive pack. I'll show you a little bit of that here in a second, but take a look at this interior. It's got really nice cloth seats. You guys know I'm a fan of cloth seats. I love having an animal-free interior. I think this is a really premium seat. Nice bolstering as well. Seat gets really low. We'll have to see how the seats feel as we try out different versions. This is the first version I'm experiencing. Interior looks really awesome. Nice digital displays as standard. Let's take a look at the back seat room. I don't expect much difference here compared to the previous generation Tiguan. One thing to note, no seat back little holders here, so but there are side pockets in the doors. That's great. Plenty of legroom. Again, I'm 6'1". I have the driver's seat set to where I would sit. Take a look at my headroom here. Plenty of headroom, especially without the sunroof. Do have some LEDs up here. These are nice. I'm glad they're not incandescent. Some base versions of cars, not necessarily from Volkswagen, don't use the nice quality bulbs. Air vents for the rear. Uber status. That's good if you're an Uber driver or Lyft driver. This is a very important feature for you, and this car would be pretty good for that. It's sort of the right size, and you know, I'm usually a fan of getting a lower trim level vehicle for most people. Here's the back end styling. You can see it looks really good. LED headlights and taillights standard on the new Tiguan. Let's open the trunk. Oh, base one doesn't have the power trunk. You have to go up in spec to get that, but that's okay. You can see third row seats, of course, compared to the totally previous generation Tiguan. It has grown a bit. Good room. We'll try that out for sure before we return. Nice little cargo cover. And oh yes, spare tire, jack, wrench. You'd be surprised how few cars come with a spare tire. Now let's take a look as to how we get this plastic shield back on. Very simple. There we go. Really deep side pockets on either side here. We can fold the third row. Oh, that's the second row right there is what these do. This is the third, no, this is the third row. Take a look at that. So that down, second row folds down, and you just have tons and tons of cargo room. Let's actually do that. So I'll pull this one here. So that goes down. This one must be stuck on the passenger seat. There we go. And they don't go totally flat. There is a bit of an increase here if you take a look. And that's just because of the side bolstering. I'm guessing, yeah, there's nothing else in the way. Oh yeah, now it's locked in. And there is just a slight angle, but really not bad. Once you lock it in down, you can hear it click. That's a great feature, actually. Really like that quite a bit. And then this will obviously release it back up. And then I believe you can even recline the seats. Yes, so look at this. This is full reclining mode on the second row. Very nice. There's also a little slider, so you can slide it. It's a little heavy without me in there, but you can slide the seat forward and back, so you can get a little extra room in the third row. So we'll try that out, not in the base car. We'll save that for later in the video. Everyone loves it when I try out third rows. Overall though, for a base car, the quality feels incredible. The styling, I think, looks great personally. Not sure you need to go with all this R-Design stuff. You get the same 2-liter turbocharged engine. We'll talk about that when we drive it. And before we do that, let's talk about pricing. You join me inside the Tiguan now, and again, we are in the 2022 Tiguan S front wheel drive. So base car, with no options except IQ Drive, which I believe is one of the only options you can get on this car, and that's all your lane centering, adaptive cruise control. We'll talk more about what that does, but I just want to make the case for the base car might be all you need here. It has auto headlights, LED headlights, a different LED headlight unit than the premium cars. This is a reflective LED versus a projector LED, but I still think just as fine, and I've tested this headlight unit sort of across the range, and they're all pretty good. This one has the Titan black cloth. You can also get a gray cloth, which I think would be quite interesting. The MSRP on this one is $26,890, but you can get the base one at like $25 basically. And so the base price has gone up compared to last year's Tiguan, but you get a beautiful digital instrument cluster. You get a really cool looking feeling car, and it's kind of got all the new modern Volkswagen stuff. You know, Taos recently came out and left kind of Tiguan behind, I thought, so this kind of ties it up and brings it all together. Now this is the updated, the most recent version of Volkswagen Group's 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder direct injected, Volkswagen calls TSI engine. And I do think that the tuning and calibration is pretty good. 8-speed automatic here, no DSG box in any of the trims, I believe. This one's 8-speed auto, again, front-wheel drive. The front-wheel drive car does not get driving modes, so you kind of just have, you put it in D and go. There's one button down here, 2 buttons I should say. The first is auto start stop off. So when you come to a stop, the engine will turn off. When you lift off the brake, it'll turn back on to reduce idling times. Sometimes in stop and go traffic or city, you kind of just want to keep the engine on. Well, you can turn that feature off with a button. I did test though, and it does not remember the last used setting. So if you do hit the button, then you have to hit it every single time you get in, which I don't really like, but that's okay. There is an electronic parking brake down here, and then your typical Volkswagen engine start stop physical button. Overall, the driving position is fantastic. I have the seat all the way down. I have plenty of headroom here without the sunroof, and I feel really good. The car is a 3-row SUV at this point, and it doesn't feel that big. I mean, granted, I just got out of an Atlas and into this, and it feels smaller. It is a smaller vehicle, but you know, everything that I've liked about the previous gen Tiguan, and I've always recommended it to people, of course, it's all the same here. So I mentioned there's no driving modes in this particular car, but there is a transmission setting. So there's D for regular drive, which just is like eco mode, kind of wants to keep the revs low. Then you can select S, it'll drop a couple gears. We can put our foot down. And this engine's still new, so it's not out of break-in period, but it's a press car, so we'll rip it. Here we are coming into some corners. Let's manually downshift this thing. Ooh, downshift's way up high. Power out of the corner. No torque steer. Maybe a little bit on center. It'll let me upshift at red line, or I should say upshift when I have my foot past the kick down switch, so it's listening to me. Will it hold a gear at red line though? Let's find out. So, foot down. So it does auto upshift at red line like most Volkswagens do, which I disagree with. There's 2 traction control settings in this car. Again, not a performance car, but I always run through it. You have ASR on, or ESP on, and then ASR off, so you can turn traction control off, but it still will cut in. There's no like ESP sport mode. That we will probably see when we drive the all-wheel drive ones going off of normal Volkswagen stuff. Overall, 25 grand for this car. Nearest makes no difference, 27. And you have yourself a very peppy, very premium feeling vehicle, but sort of at an entry-level price. I'm really blown away by the value you get here. I would 100% spec the IQ Drive. I'll demonstrate how this works. So travel assist is now activated. There's a haptic sense on the steering wheel. It's lane centering for me. I just need to monitor the driving situation, and it's keeping us on the lane. On a long highway drive, this reduces fatigue on the driver, but please don't rely on this system as a driverless system. It's purely there to aid you to get down the road. Fantastic driver assistance system. I've driven across the country with this system in the ID4, used it the whole way, and you can see corners like this, it's gonna struggle, so we'll just tap in, help it a little bit, and then we're back to normal cruising. It's really meant for the highway. Great adaptive cruise control. Can't recommend this option enough, and it's like 900 bucks, $895 I think. it's just the best. I will say though, when you factor into pricing, you have to add $1,200 destination, which is a lot. Some cars are like $800 destination, but I guess they got, I don't know. That just seems like a lot of money for a destination. So my impression so far is, if you don't experience any of the other trims, which I have not, this car is fast, it's roomy. I love the seats. The cloth seats I think are the best part. There does not seem to be a lumbar adjustment for them though, so if you have lower back pain or issue in that regard, then I would not recommend these seats. I would recommend the IQ Drive setting. If you bump up to the SE or SE Black Edition and then SEL R, you know, more and more features become standard and then more become optional. For example, you can't spec a sunroof on the base one, but you can if you go up a level. I prefer the a la carte ordering thing, but I don't know. I think if you're just gonna go base, great car. Really good sound system for a base one too. By the way, you don't get the Fender audio until you get the maxed out one, which is like $10,000 more. And Volkswagen just kits their cars out so well in base trim that it's so hard to ignore, because a lot of cars are like starting at, you know, $24,000, but they don't give you anything. Here, heated seats, great air conditioning, 6 levels of fan speed, by the way. It's not auto, but it works great. Transmission is excellent, truly excellent 8-speed auto transmission, truly excellent 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. The front wheel drive is fine for most people. You can option all-wheel drive on any trim level. So you can have, you know, for SE or SE, SE Black, and SEL R line premium, I think is how it works. There's 4 trim levels. You can get front wheel drive or all-wheel drive in either, and choose the one that works for you the best. I think this car, compared, you know, I recommended in my Taos review to buy the 4Motion because there's a lot of suspension changes and I didn't really like the way the base car drove. And while I have not driven the all-wheel drive yet, this drives way better than the base Taos does. So big props to Volkswagen on making a really solid entry-level 7-seat, you know, family SUV. This thing is rad. I love it. Really do. I think this is the best entry-level money you can buy. Let's go jump in the all-wheel drive ones or some of the other trims. We'll see what we can find. They have kind of one of everything at this little event I'm at. So you can see here the S trim that we were just driving, of course. And then this is on 17-inch wheels. This is the SE pulling out here on 18-inch wheels, but still that same reflective headlight unit. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? I like the 18s on this car. And then you do get a power trunk when you go up to the SE. Personally though, I don't think the SE is enough of a jump here, especially as you can option the driver assistance. But then when you jump from the S into the Max trim, you can go over here, of course, you can see the SEL R line, so you get the projector LED headlights, IQ light as shown here, the big wheels, of course. Overall, I mean, it certainly looks much more aggressive from a styling perspective. If styling plays a factor in your role here, this thing just has absolutely everything. Let's take a look at the sunroof inside. So you can see the leather seats in this particular one, really nice piping, have to say. USB-C port in the rear. Seat back holders I'm noticing as well. Let's take a look. That glass roof is nice. That is really nice, I have to say. Is it, I don't know, $3,000-$4,000 nice? Not so sure. The seats look to be about the same seat. Addition of a lumbar, of course, 3 memory position. No massage. You can see this one's an all-wheel drive because we have the addition of the drive mode selector. We also have auto parking in this particular one. Sort of a different textured finish as well. And then this one has the fender. So this is like going from base to max here. We also have haptic controls here on the wheel, which are fine, but I don't know, does it change really the way that this system works? I don't know. Heated steering wheel as well, metal pedals. You know, you do get things for your money on the upcharge here. What do you say we take this for a drive, see if the all-wheel drive drives any different than the front-wheel drive, and then we'll call it a review. Jumping from the base one to the max one, Well, instantly I have some more settings. Air conditioned seats, nice. Wow, the seat does not go nearly as low as it did with the cloth seats, the manual seats. Personally, I like the cloth seats better. Now I get a full digital instrument cluster. This is the one pretty much out of the Atlas. Same thing. Of course, I showed you the extra buttons. The auto climate control is kind of nice. Is there a sync function? If I hit menu, I have to wait for it to load. Sync is on, yes. And then I can just 68, 69 degrees. Same as the Atlas, or sorry, same as the Arteon. This has that same system. Cooled seats working well. Let's see, we have snow mode, normal, mountain, and then custom. Let's drive it in normal. So 2-liter, same engine, same transmission, just with the addition of all-wheel drive. This one in particular has all the options, the sunroof, everything like that, the projector headlights, of course. Steering wheel is pebbled here because it's the R line. We have sort of the ID4-esque gauges, heated steering wheel, I mentioned. 3 levels of heated steering wheel, that's kind of nice. And let's take this for a little drive. So instantly, I definitely feel like I am sitting higher up in this particular car than I was before. Let's change the view on this screen. There we go. Now I have a normal tach and odometer, not odometer, speedometer. And pulling away. Yeah, the throttle calibration is still too sharp on tip-in. They struggle with this on Atlas, and really badly, actually. And it's definitely here as well, where when you just tip the throttle in, it gives you a little bit more than you're used to, or that you're looking for, actually. And it's pretty hard to have a smooth start. It is better in this application than in some other Volkswagens, though. Because this one has more stuff. You have the power trunk opener on the key. Other than that, fog lights, I think, are the only difference. All weather lights, as they say, USB-C ports throughout. Welcome. You can set up your system. This system's a little bit bigger, this screen, but honestly, it's a fine system. It's really not bad. But I thought the base screen was fine. So yeah, it's nicer in here for sure. Is it $10,000 nicer? This one's just about $10,000 more expensive than what we were just driving. And I'm not sure right off the bat that the answer is apparent. So it will require a little bit more of a drive. I do like the metal pedals. I can catch that in the peripheral of my vision. That's premium. The dead pedal is metal. That's really cool. The leather is nice, but I, again, personally preferred the cloth. Sunroof, though, that's nice. So it might be worth, if you like a sunroof, to get the SE, which is the one up from the bottom. You still get the base headlights, the base sound system, that kind of stuff, but I thought that was all fine. And the base headlights are still LED. But then you can get driver assistance as standard on SE, and then just add the $1,200 sunroof. I think is kind of how it works out to be. I would say we need to get this on a little bit of a back road to see if it drives any differently, but I would say instantly it does feel a little bit snappier to get into a corner. Like the steering ratio is almost a little bit different. I don't know. We'll try it some more. I'll see you on a back road. Let's go shred this thing. The sun is directly overhead, and even with the sunroof, I don't really feel that much heat coming through, but I also have a shade that can close. So let's close the shade. Have to say, I just sampled the Fender audio system. Good system, really good system for sure. If you're into music, that might be worth it. But again, it's just so much more money than the base one. But I guess that's how options work. So let's have it all in sporty mode. The dials go red. That's kind of nice. Make sure no one is coming our way, and foot down. Little laggy. Nice upshift. Yeah, it sounds good up at the top end. Very fruity up above 6,000 RPM. I wouldn't say it feels as eager as the front wheel drive does, and that makes sense. You just have more drivetrain loss, of course. However, I do think we get a little bit of a different sound profile here. Definitely hearing more turbo noise. Definitely the blow off, the psh, and that's kind of cool. I mean, from a performance standpoint, a normal consumer's not going to notice that, but that's kind of neat. I like that. Let's pull here. Let's try see if it will launch control again. Maybe they tuned some of this fun stuff out. And it might just be on vehicles that have, oh, there's a wireless charger in this one too, I'll use that. It might just be on vehicles that have the dual clutch transmission when you put it in ESC Sport. That is very much a possibility. So the big truck's gone out of the way. We'll do a brake boost one last time to find out. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's just the DSG car. So left foot hard on the brake, no launch control. Yep. And that's okay. So plenty quick. You don't need any more power than this to get around, for sure. We're already way past 60. That's not really the point of this car. It can just get out of its own way, but how is it to like cruise now that we're up at normal speed? So I put everything in normal mode here. Revs drop down. Road noises not as quiet as I was expecting. Do hear some things coming through. See how it performs this little corner. Turn-in's very sharp. Wow, very sharp turn-in here. Let's just put it back into sport mode really quick. It does feel a bit tighter than the, and by tighter I mean a little bit more responsive on steering tip-in than the regular or the S, but I think that's all down to wheel and tire. I think this is a tire and wheel difference that I'm feeling, not a suspension calibration. But man, this thing's a nice size. And it sounds really good when you get up it too. And it looks really good. This SEL R-Line, 4Motion, of course, all-wheel drive, looks the business. I would get it just like this. Platinum gray, big wheels, projector LEDs. That's nice. If I had an unlimited budget, yeah, I'd get the nice one and I'd deal with the higher seating position. But if you're just looking for a budget 7-seater thing, then whew, you can't beat that base one at all. And I think that's really what it comes down to. The car drives predictable. It's nice. It's comfortable. You have all the driver assistance you could want. It's really an awesome package, just with some updated styling and colors and different pricing for this year. They eliminated some trims and packages. That doesn't really matter per se. You just go on the configurator, figure out which one you want, and then you go to the dealer and buy it. So big recommend here. You know, my sister's shopping for a car. This is going to be on her short list. I'm going to highly recommend this vehicle for her. And honestly, she would probably want the leather seats and the good looks because she likes a car that looks premium. But for most people, just get I think the base one's just fine. And you have off-roady mode stuff. We've learned Volkswagens aren't really rock crawlers from taking the Atlas off-road. It kind of struggled out there. Well, anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I think the last thing I need to do is try out the third row, and then we'll call it like a super awesome review. I mean, it's nothing revolutionary here for the new one. It's just looks a little bit better than last year and just makes it a little bit more attractive to buy, I think. Before we go and try out the third row seats, I think it's important to make a pretty big distinction between what cars get the third row and what cars don't. Any front wheel drive Tiguan comes with the third row as standard. That's why we saw it in the base car. In the SEL Premium, the Max one that we were just driving, actually didn't have a third row, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Did they forget to install it? Apparently, they claim due to customer demand, no one specs third rows in all-wheel drives. I just think they probably couldn't make the packaging fit. I don't know. But anyway, you can't get third row seats in the Tiguan if you spec a 4Motion all-wheel drive. So that's okay, but I still think front wheel drive is fine for most use cases. I also want to show you this trim here. This is the SE Black trim, so it's sort of the mid-spec, but then has some of the sporty design elements. I'm not sure I'm digging it so much. Let me show you around it. So you can see here the black roof rails, the window surrounds, the mirror caps, and the wheels. The wheels look a little wimpy though, if I'm honest. See how in that rear wheel is, for example? Look at the offset back here. That doesn't look nearly as aggressive as these over here, which are the maxed out ones. Take a look at how much better that looks on, I believe they're 20-inch wheels over here. And yes, they are 20s. That to me looks a little bit better. So my opinion still is third row seat, front wheel drive. I don't know. I think I'd get all wheel drive personally. I live in Colorado, but I would get maybe SE or S. You guys tell me what you think. Let's take a look at the interior on this. Leatherette seating. Interesting pattern here. This one, no sunroof. Looks pretty premium. Yeah, nice. Third row seat. Should we try it out? So it's a front wheel drive. So this slides forward like this, but then how do I get in? So I have to pull on a little thing down here. I don't know. Let's see. So just needed to be a little bit more forceful pushing. It just slid on the rails this way. This is not going to be pretty for anyone around. Jumping in the third row here. Is there going to be any possible way that I fit? Yes. So that's locked in, and there's knee room. Wow. Let me show you my headroom. In the third row, it's a little bit of a pinch, but I have a cup holder. I have no headroom. I can't actually even hit the headrest. Again, I'm 6'1". It's not really meant for adults, but like, could I airport Uber to the, down the road for 20 minutes in the back here? Sure, why not? It's definitely a usable third row. I just wouldn't want to be the one stuck back here on a road trip. But if you're a child, not as tall as I am, oh, perfect. The thing is, we just don't need massive cars here in the US. And this kind of solves everyone's need. I really digging this Tiguan. So from the third row, I say goodbye. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you learned all about this car. I showed you every trim, S, SE, SE Black, and SEL R-Line Premium. I think, they're all pretty cool. I loved the base ones, loved the cloth seats. I really like the way the car drove. I wouldn't say it's too dissimilar from last year's model. Overall, pretty impressive car. If you're looking for a family sedan, or I should say SUV, then I think it's much better than a lot of the Japanese rivals in terms of driving and premium feel, in my opinion.